Pregame.com.
The Bengals are at the Texans. Texans not playing very good ball. They had the #1 seed wrapped up a few weeks ago. Now they're playing in the opening round against the Cincinnati Bengals team. The Texans are 4.5-point favorites. VR, you're going against the trend in this one. What do you like?
Way against. I know what you're thinking. I have a future on Houston, so I'm biased towards Houston. It's a free bet for me. I had the over 10 season wins. I cashed that, I think, months ago. This team has been waiting for the playoffs. And the only problem they had was that the meaningful game didn't come till the final week of the season, and it's pretty hard to just flip the switch in the NFL. And because of that, you're getting an undervalued team against an extremely overvalued Bengals club. Here's why. When you look at the last 4 games for Houston, sure, they're 1-3 straight up, but they played New England, they played Minnesota, who just beat Green Bay, and they played an Indianapolis team, which they beat the first time handedly, and then in the final game, they weren't able to get it done. When you look at the Bengals, sure, they're 7-1 their last 8 games. I get it, but let's look at the level of opposition. The last game against Baltimore, okay, I'll give you that, but they were outgained by over 160 yards against Baltimore. Prior to that, here's who they beat: Kansas City, Oakland, San Diego, the Eagles, and we saw what happened to the Pittsburgh Steelers towards the end of the season.
And Philly, don't leave out your boys.
The only team they played in that stretch that was good, the Cowboys, at home, and they lost. So don't get too excited about this Cincinnati team. More importantly, you look at these 2 teams, they played last year, similar situation. The difference was T.J. Yates was at quarterback for Houston, and they were -4 at home. Now you're getting me with Schaub at the same number. To me, it's free money. They're just giving it away. This line should be so much higher. Since he does it with defense, they're 6th in yards allowed. When you look at offensively, nothing to brag about. Houston on the flip side, 8th in points scored, 9th in points allowed. They're balanced, offense and defense, top 10 team. Cincinnati's only good defensively, but Schaub, Foster, Johnson, Daniels, Walters, that's a lot of offense right there. I think they're going to have some success in the Dome, at home. That place is going to be fired up. I'm telling you, this is what Houston was waiting for. This last year going into the playoffs, it was, what are we going to do? We have a 3rd-string quarterback, but they went in hot. Kind of. Yeah. They lost a couple games there at the end, but they had already clinched, so it meant nothing. Now it's the flip side. We have our team healthy, more or less, but we're going in cold. This team's going to flip the switch and buy your ticket to New Orleans if you live in Houston. This team's going to represent. They're going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl.
Ooh. Chuck Edel, I think you may have some different opinions. I know I do.
Yeah, you know, here's the thing. I mean, I'm not a huge on Cincinnati. All those points that you said about Cincinnati are right on. I mean, they have had a little bit of a soft schedule. Houston, though, I mean, what we've seen, I mean, as far as flipping the switch, I mean, they really needed to win the game against Minnesota. They only put up 6 points in that game. They needed the game last week. Really, since Houston started off the season looking like the Super Bowl team. I mean, they were one of the favorites.
Looks like the best team in the AFC.
Up until that Jets game. I know you guys cleaned up on that Jets game. You had the Jets in that game. But up until that Jets game, they looked invincible. Since that Jets game, they just have looked disinterested, which would make your case good, except for the fact that the last couple of weeks when
they had to turn it on, and
I felt like they needed those games. I mean, they looked bad against the Colts. They looked really bad against Minnesota, even though Minnesota's playing better. I think Andre Johnson has maybe lost a step. I just thought the line maybe should be 3, you know, and now you have to lay 4.5, and I just thought this is a field goal type of game.
Here's the things I'm looking at. First of all, I don't like the way their offensive line is playing, and I think that has drastically hurt the running game. I think without a solid running game, Schaub has not been nearly as effective. I think that's a big part of what we're talking about. Defensively, you know, against the pass. Now, I'm not sure that Cincinnati is exactly the team that takes huge advantage. Okay, but he's okay. And Green's
you double up A.J. Green, and that's it.
But I'm looking at the QBRs. I've been looking at the QBRs a lot rather than just the pass efficiency. And, you know, goes from 0 to 100. Anything over 50 is good. They gave up 72.8 this last week to Andrew Luck. 78.5 to Ponder.
That says something there.
That's not good. Now, the week before that, they played the Colts 19. They gave up to Andrew Luck. Okay, 95.6, which is an astronomical number. Okay, it was to Tom Brady. 15.9 to Peyton Manning. That was a very, very good game. Then again, you look, we'll go a couple more weeks back. 72.7 to Detroit, Matthew Stafford. 71.0 to Jacksonville, Chad Henne.
So that was that overtime game, the 40-40.
Yeah. Now, they've had some good games and they've had some bad games. They look wildly inconsistent to me, and I'm just not sure they could turn it on in this spot. Like you said, Chuck, they needed that game last week, and they did not show up.
Came out flat.
They would love to be off this week. I mean, they were a big time chalk to have
home field advantage through, where the road was going to have to travel through Houston.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the game in Denver. I mean, they played well. They've had some injuries on defense, and
yeah, they have,
and that's
absolutely
hurt. That's, I think, hurt them a little bit. We'll see how healthy Joseph's been. He's their top cover guy. I mean, Cushing going out for the season, I think that hurt.
That was too big.
I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I'm not a big fan of the game. I'm not totally bumping heads, but I just thought the line was a 1.5 too high.
Yeah, I made the game 3.5. That's what I thought the game should be. So,
boy, if at Cincy. Maybe if it was on the road.
All right, we've talked about it. Let's go ahead and make it official.
Cincy at Houston, 4.5. Just too low, way too low at Houston. That pretty much says on a neutral field, Houston's about a point and a half better. I think they're much better than that. Cincinnati's overvalued, coming in winning 7 of their last 8 games against absolutely nobody. Houston was the team to beat a couple weeks back. If this game was played then, Houston would be almost a double-digit favorite against Cincy. Granted, they haven't looked good the last 4 weeks, but this is the same team that was lighting it up early. Take Houston in this game. Not only do they cover the spread, they cover the teaser. Don't tease Cincy.
Don't tease.
Don't tease through those key numbers. Save your money.
He's very confident.
Save your money.
Listen, I know this guy. He's pretty good.
Save your money. He's been on a pretty good roll. I know. Save your money. Don't tease him. Don't tease him.
Okay. Well, we got the B team coming in tomorrow. They're not as good as us, but watch.
They are talking 3 NFL games, so it'll be worth the price of admission.
Yeah. So. Watch them anyway, even though they're not as good as we are.
We all agree on one game. You could put on Twitter the one game we agree on.
There you go.
Go put it on Twitter. You know their game. We all agreed on the one game. We haven't talked about it. You want me to say it, or
give it to
you want to put it on Twitter?
You can say it.
We said we all like the Ravens.
The Ravens.
Yeah,
we do. We all like the Ravens. I want to see what they give out tomorrow.
Okay, well.
I was trying to get you some tweet attention.
Some followers.
I can tweet that too.
Followers.
I can use more followers too. Follow me on Twitter. Follow these guys on Twitter.
There you go.
Follow all of us on Twitter, but watch all our videos at pregame.tv. We'll see you guys next week.